I swear, one of these days I will remember to actually turn that freaking thing off. Anyway, hi everyone. I'm Devin. I'm sure you probably already know that because that's probably how you came across this to begin with. And this is the first episode of Modern Witch Living, and this is something that I've wanted to do for years. So I'm really pleased that you've taken time out of your schedule to come hang out with me. We are going to talk about all the stuff I never get to talk about on my show because I'm usually I always interview somebody. That's what Modern Witch Podcast is. But I don't get to talk to you. I don't get to tell you what's going on in my life. And when I did an episode probably 2 weeks ago that was titled Just You and Me, I got an incredible amount of feedback from people. And I just realized that now is the time to do this thing, this podcast that we're starting tonight with you guys, and that I can do it live stream and all this stuff. So I am nervous. It's so weird. I think because usually I'm so prepared and everything is produced and all of that stuff that I get to kind of hide behind editing, and I don't get to do that with you guys this time. So I might say something stupid, I might ramble, and hopefully though you'll get to see the side of me that most people don't get to see. Okay, so let me back up and explain what we're doing here. So Modern Witch Living is my way of not only talking about the things that are going on in my life, but also talking about the ways that we can essentially ground our spirituality in our daily lives. And when it comes to occultism, when it comes to witchcraft, spirituality, magically mindedness, all of that stuff, it's kind of hard to do that. It's kind of hard to look around and see examples of what that looks like. And so I realized that as I go through my process as just a creative person, whether that's me writing books or that's me working with plants or yarn or whatever, I'm always looking for ways to ground my spirituality in what I'm doing. And so I realized that, okay, when I look at a project, I look at, well, how can I make this witchy? I hate that. I know people hate that. I like the term. I don't hate the term. I like the term witchy. I know some people don't like the term witchy. I think it's cool. But anyway, so sometimes you need to, bring your spirituality into your daily life. And I think when it comes to occultism, that crafting and making stuff is probably the way to do it, for a couple of reasons. So one is that we are putting an intention right into a project, and beyond that, we're continuing to do that. So if you've ever sewn something or you've ever crocheted something, every single stitch is an intention. Every single stitch is a prayer. Same thing when we do beadwork, whether we're working with clay or we're doing something, fantastic with paper, there's ways of weaving in this magic, right? And so I want to talk about that stuff. I really want to talk about that stuff. That's actually more of who I am as a person, I have to tell you, than anything. And I've kind of had this weird spot for years where I'm like, I don't know where I fit in with the community. Well, I just need to be myself. And so I'm just going to be big, gay, witchy Martha Stewart. And that's what it's about. So that's who I am. I'm big, gay, witchy Martha Stewart. So that's what Modern Witch Living is going to be, essentially. It's my answer to that. And I hope that you enjoy it. And I hope that you have a good time. My other reason for doing this is, well, to be honest with you, it's that I had a really crappy year last year. And the lesson that came out of it for me was that I needed more community. And where I'm at, we have a huge community, but it's really spread out and it's kind of hard to get to places. So I haven't had much of a chance outside of when I had a store, which I had a store for several years. It was one of the United States longest running metaphysical stores until the pandemic. But that was my community. My community came to my store. I don't have a store anymore. And so I've realized that the hard time I was experiencing last year really boiled down to I didn't have anybody to talk to. I didn't have a community who could respond to my need for somebody to talk to. It was this really interesting thing. So I went to this conference last year, and Between the World Sacred Space, if you get to go, you should totally absolutely go. And it completely changed my life from the perspective that I realized something was missing and I needed to find it. And so I spent the year looking for it, and a lot of crap happened. I'm sure we'll get into it at some point, but what I walked out of it, how I kind of ended my year, was this realization that I needed my community. And because Modern Witch has always been online, like I've started a podcast 14 years ago. 14 years ago, I started the Modern Witch podcast, and it's always been online. Everything's always been online. So here I am, and I'm just desperately reaching out. Be my friend. I need friends. I need friends who like yarn and plants and cooking and things that I like, because honestly, it's I live in a house full of gays who are into very, very weird things, who are not the things you'd think of, right? So like my husband Matt, he is super into crafting, but it's like dolls and things. I'll try to get him on because he's doing some really cool sculpting stuff. But he's like, he does his own thing. We're all very independent, so we're all kind of off doing our own thing. Chaz is very crafty. He is making divination boards and spinning wheels and all kinds of cool stuff like all the time. And so you probably see his stuff, Carnavalia. And he said he'll come on and hang out with us sometime. So hopefully he will, because he's been felting and he's felting mushrooms right now. And it's so cute. Okay, so there's that. But then there's Storm, and Storm is very, very book minded. And so he's always reading something. He's always writing something. And right now he's very into Star Trek, which is Star Trek game, which is fine. But it also means that like nobody is into this stuff. Like I get out of my little bubble here. I'm in my studio and / office, and I go downstairs and I'm just like, oh my God, look at this yarn, da, 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 da. And they just don't care. It was when I brought houseplants in, like as a major obsession, it was a whole thing. Like Chaz was into it. Chaz is totally into it. Chaz is he's a Taurus, so he loves houseplants. He loves the whole idea. He actually was the one that I would say really started the houseplant thing in the house, in our house. And I write about all that in my new book, Houseplant Horticulture, which you should definitely check out. In fact, I'm just going to put this little thing up here that reminds you of what it looks like, because it's gorgeous, and you should absolutely grab your copy while it's available, which it is everywhere. Pre-order, because it comes out in April. Anyway, so yeah, Chaz was really into it, but everything else was like this weird, just trying to find people who wanted to talk about plants. Like it was super hard, believe it or not. And so I spent a lot of my plant journey just completely alone, and looking for people who were into the weird subtropical and tropical plants that I was getting into. And at one point I was raising begonias that had that were on the endangered species list. And I was nerding out hardcore, and there was nobody to talk to about my crazy begonias. And so this hopefully will fix that. Anyway, so here we are. So anyway, I just want to say hello to everyone. I've been rambling on just for 10 minutes while people have been loading in. I just want to shout out to people for Amy. Hello, Amy Blackthorn. Amy Blackthorn is one of my buddies, and Amy hopefully will come on. Here's the thing. I want to have people on just to talk about the stuff. I don't want to talk about books. I don't want to I don't want to do that. I want to talk about what we're selling. I want to talk about what we're crafting and making. And I know Amy will come on and talk about things that Amy's making and Amy's doing, because Amy is one crafty witch. So hi, Amy. Thank you for coming. Hi, Caitlin. Caitlin is a crafting buddy who keeps pushing me in my posts, and I appreciate that. Okay, so yeah. Oh, there's all kinds of people. Well, hello, everybody. Goodness, thank you. Thanks for coming and showing up. So today I thought we'd start everything off with talking about kind of what I'm doing in my crafting world right now. I thought we'd go through my mail. If you want to go through my mail, I have a yarn haul that I haven't opened. So if you want to stick around for that, it's Malabrigo. It's the good stuff. And I have a prop box that is ready now. And it is one of those things that I'm really excited to share with you. I mean, there's some things already. Like I have some really nice pink princesses in there, and I have some Syngonium Aurea that I had propped. I want to say I did this the last full moon, and I think that they're probably starting. So I thought we'd check in on them and see what's up. I have all kinds of whips to show you. I have so many whips to show you. It's ridiculous. And I wanted to talk to you about what I'm reading and all kinds of stuff. So come hang out. I'm going to try to do this thing that I really love, which is I watch YouTube videos, a lot, and it's the podcast style. So it's just me listening to people talk and chiming in with things from time to time. And it's just a good old time. But the whole point is to relax, to get to know one another. Whips. Yes, we'll talk about Ben Stimson. Hi, Ben. Ben's in there. He's like, what's a whip? So whip is in work in progress. So these are the things that I'm in the middle of making, and we'll talk about what they are and what they're going to be, hopefully, and all that good stuff. So, all right. Anyway, so what should we start with? Should we start with, let's start with the bougie ass yarn that I got in the other day. All right. So if you haven't been following along on Facebook, I have been on a crochet, like I started my crochet journey about 8-9 months ago. And I've had like friends try to show me how to crochet. I've had boyfriends show me, like all of it never sticks. I could get a chain, and then that was it, and it was over, and I just gave up. So my whole life I've had this like jealousy of people who could knit and crochet because they get to make things. I did not make this. Somebody commented on my cardigan. I appreciate it. I did not make this. I think I got this at Target. So a couple years ago. Always good. Yeah, check out Target. I love Target. But yeah, so I have always had this jealousy because I love to craft and make things, and I'm always seeing these like really cool scarves and hoodies and cardigans and blah blah. And I would just get jealous. So when I got done with the last manuscript before the one I just turned in, I was like, okay, it is time to just relax and find something that is not work, that will help me be creative. So I had one of the reasons why 2023 kind of sucked was that I thought was out of burnout, and I wasn't, and I threw myself in too quickly. And so that was just hard. And I realized that a big part of that is I have to be a creative person all the time. Just that's what I do. If I stop being creative, the ability to pay my bill stops. It's like not a good thing. So I have to be writing, I have to be making products. Like it's just always a nonstop kind of thing, right? And I know a lot of you are like that. A lot of you are living in that world as well. And so I just got tired of it. I'm not gonna lie, I got tired of it. I got tired of like being creative for the sake of like the wheel. Like I was just over it. And I took a step back and I realized that I didn't have any project that I was doing just for me. Like nothing to just have as a selfish little like joy. And the flip side of it was that like I was spending all my time making things for the public, but then I didn't have time to like make stuff for my family. I didn't have time to be a good, be the friend that you want to be and make cool stuff, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so I decided to throw myself into crochet, and I did, and it was amazing. And I kind of like flipped. I just had this whole thing happen where I had realized that I could create all the things I wanted to create, and it's like living art, right? Or it's like movable art, right? Because you can wear it. So I made a bunch of stuff for people. I made all kinds of Christmas gifts. I tried to upload the pictures to show you, but they were too big. So I will shrink them so that I can show you stuff that I've already sent out to people. But yeah, so it was a really fun thing to do for the holidays. I spent less than I usually do, but it was a lot of time. Oh my goodness, the amount of time that goes into making somebody a shawl or a blanket or any of those other things. The good thing was that I got to totally like learn a bunch of skills, which was great. But in the process, I will say my hands were so sore. I had to get a cuff thing. I felt very like not 37 years old, put it that way. But yeah, so I just made all of this stuff, and I still have like 3 or 4, I'm not gonna lie, I still have 3 or 4 Christmas presents that aren't done. Like I started a shawl for both my mom and my stepmom, and I haven't been able to send them those yet. And so those are like there. I need to finish those up. And I have my sister was waiting for a shawl, and I didn't send her shawl. So I have like 3 shawls that I have to finish up. And I will show you those before I send them off, but I still have things in the works. But whips never lie, right? Whips are always like a thing. And I used to feel bad when I would start a new whip without finishing one. And then I watched a video where somebody said, well, why would you do that? Just be creative and do whatever the hell you want to do. And eventually you'll get to the point where you come across a whip and you're like, hey,
this isn't going to happen. I'm not into it. And then you just frog it and whatever. That's where I'm at now. So I'm at the place. So let me show you some of the things that I had made, and what I had planned for them, and then we'll kind of go from there. So first thing is, we'll talk about the bougie yarn after this, I guess. So the first thing is, so I'm making, the plan is, I saw this really cute shawl that this lady was making, where she took a bunch of crocheted like tiny flowers, and like we're talking like 300 of them, and they had leaves and then beautiful petals, and then she just kind of like stitched them together all haphazardly, but it looked super cool. It looked like she was wearing a flower bed, and I was like, that's badass. So I have this idea of taking, so this is a half of an elephant ear, half of a alocasia leaf, and so my goal is to do, yes, I'll make a Doctor Who. We'll talk about the Doctor Who scarf in a second. But yeah, so my goal is to do a bunch of leaves and then kind of haphazardly put them together so that it looks like a bunch of tropical leaves, essentially, and make a shawl from that. And then we'll see how it goes. Will I wear it? I don't know. I'm not going to lie. I probably would at like a conference or something, but like I can't see me going out in public with it on a regular basis. But I think it's cool and it'll be fun art, and then I'll probably give it away to somebody or something like that. So anyway, so this is one of those leaves that I had started, and I was just freeforming it. Can you tell I was freeforming it? But I think this will be a really fun thing to do. Where are the other ones? Because I do. Oh. Sorry. Are you ready? Okay. So I showed a picture of this on Facebook, and I was like, can you tell what I'm doing? And one person got it right. So this is another leaf, and it's upside down. And it's obviously, I need to hide things. So this is another leaf. So this is a giant monstera leaf. This is part of a giant monstera leaf. And I have to sew the bits together so that it hangs the right way. But can you tell? Can you tell it's going to be a giant monstera leaf? Anyway, so yeah, so this is going to be part of a shawl. And so my thought was the back of the shawl. And I'm going to have to do it because I wanted the fenestrations. That was a really important thing for me, was to make sure that I had fenestrations, and I wanted it to be a variegated monstera because I am a plant snob. So I was like, okay, this is what we're going to do. And oh my goodness, that thing, just to get, I'm probably 2/3 of the way done. And what I have to do now, because I've been going kind of left and right with the stitching, and now I have to go in and go vertically to create the top half of the lobe part of the leaf. So I'm going to do that, and then when I'm done with that, I'm going to stitch all the fenestrations together so that it's a solid piece, and then I'm either going to use that as like the main piece for that leaf motif that I was talking about, or I'm going to just go ahead and crochet a bunch of like black around it so it really pops out, and then just turn it into like a kind of another shawl or something along those lines. That's just like a monstera shawl, and that I could just do little detail and kind of see where it goes. So we'll see. I don't know, but that's, I'm into it. I'm totally into it. I love plants, obviously, and I thought it would be a fun way to like memorialize houseplant horticulture, which is going to come out in a couple months, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, something like that. So that would be fun. We'll see how it goes. I also have a shirt. So I bought these. Do you remember when we were kids and we would make the puffy paint shirts? So I'm doing that. So my plan is to make a puffy paint horticulture shirt to wear to convocation in 2 weeks. And so I bought this green shirt, and I bought the printable iron-on stuff. And so my thought was that I will just go ahead and do make my own, copy of my book cover, and then iron it onto a green shirt. And then from there, take puffy paint and then do the outline, right? And then just go all out and maybe do little leaves and just be absolutely crazy. I might stitch, because I did see somebody took fun thick embroidery yarn, and they did stitches up a shirt just to give it some design. I thought that might happen, but we'll see, because the event is happening very quickly. It's just around the corner, and I have presentations I have to get ready for, plus these other whips that I'm going to show you here in just a second. So I don't know, but I am definitely going to make a horticulture shirt to wear to the conference because I think it'll be fun. So that's happening. Okay, so this is so not my normal thing at all, and that's why I'm doing it, because it is not my normal color scheme. Hey, look at me, I'm just looking kind of embarrassed. Ooh, yeah. So this is not my normal color scheme at all. Like, I am a earth tones guy all the way through, and green. Give me everything green, black, and earth tones, and I'll be happy for life. So this is not normally my thing, which has been really interesting. So this is 1 square of a 4 square motif that I'm doing for a spring devotional altar. So when I talked about like creating things and kind of imbuing them with our energy, this is a good example of that. So the idea is that I'm going to, so this is one of them. Here's another one. Okay, so I'll show you in a second what I did. Yeah, and here's the third one. And I just had to go get another skein of this variegated pink, which was super annoying, but I had to go get it. So I haven't finished it yet. But anyway, so spring devotional altar. So I want to get it done and get everything ready for the equinox the equinox. And my goal is oh goodness, it's like a race, because again, I ran out of stuff anyway. So Maiden Mother, so we'll start with the basics. All right. So what this is it's just a C to C blanket. It's a C to C stitch. So it's corner to corner. If you're familiar with that in crochet, it's really easy to do. It's a really fun way of making pixel stuff. So like if you have like a pixel image, you can do it really easy with a C to C stitch, and you can do a really big blanket or whatever. But anyway, so if you can tell, so what it is it's sets of 9. So three rows, 1, 2, 3 of the light kind of sagey green. And then this is like a variegated, it's like white and kind of a cream and orange and a little splash of yellow with that sage, and then pinks, and then pinks and sage, and then the variegated. Okay. And then it just duplicates out. It just goes out. And what I did is sets of 3. So 3 in this color, 3 rows in this color, 3 rows in this color. And then the pink variegated got 9 rows. And then I went 3 out on the other end. So the idea is that when these are put together, I'm sure you can envision it, right? When these are put together, they'll make a focal point for me to put the glass and the candles and all of that fun stuff. So that is the goal. And then after that, and the thing is, it was a really fun project to learn on. I will totally put the diagram out. It's not hard at all, but people have asked because I took a picture. So I will totally put the diagram out for you if you want to do it. But I think it's a pretty easy thing. I think it took me 2 hours a square, and then I'll put them together and it'll be grand. So there's that. But yeah, pink, not my normal thing. I think I was just high on Barbie, or because we had just seen Barbie and I was like, I'm gonna do pink. And yeah, and I do like I'm not against pink, and we'll talk about that in a second, but I think it has to be like a certain type of pink. And I don't like pastels. I am not a pastel person. I would rather, like, in American Horror Story Coven, at the very, very end, when she ends up in hell and she has the whole like naughty pine moment, my naughty pine is pastels. Like, it would be to stick me in a room for all of eternity surrounded by pastels, and I would scream pastels and beige. Beige is an offensive color to me. Like, I mean, not as like a skin tone, obviously, but like I had too much beige as a child. We'll talk about my beige trauma later, but beige is horrible. I don't like beige and I don't like pastels. And anyway, so I went with pastels, and it was really fun to break out of my comfort zone and to try something and just see how it all goes. Right. And so I think it'll be it's a fun devotional piece. I've been doing Maiden Mother crone chants and doing the goddess chant as I've been stitching and just spinning. And this is what I love about crochet, is that you can just kind of disassociate and go somewhere else and do your thing, and you're still doing it, and it's beautiful, and it turns out most of the time, as long as you have to check it every once in a while. I have overstitched a few times, but it's a wonderful thing to use as a meditation tool, which is honestly probably what I'm finding to be the best part of it, and why I every night I'm crocheting or knitting recently, and I'll show you something I'm very proud of here in a second. But yeah. So anyway, so that's a really fun piece. When it's done, I'll show you in another episode. But that's that. Okay, the piece that I'm working on right now that I am working on very, very hard, because again, the conference is coming up. But the last time I went to Detroit for convocation, it was fucking cold. It was so fucking cold. I was gonna just like melt. And they had like Arctic winds coming down. It was just one of those weird fluke, like, I mean, it was like an intense winter storm. So we're not usual, but anyway. So I just have this thing in my head where I'm like, okay, well, I live in California now, and I have been spoiled by the weather here, like big time. So I grew up in Ohio. I grew up going out in the barefoot in my, in the snow kind of a thing. This sucks. Like it sucks when the weather drops below 55 degrees. I don't like it now. Whereas before I was all about it. Now no. So going back to Michigan when it's that cold, I'm not particularly looking forward to, just from the coldness perspective, but I'm so stoked about being there for the conference that I'm like, all right, you've got to you got to crochet yourself something that's going to be amazing, that will help get you through, but also is going to look hot, because come on, right? Two things. You can't go out like wearing something that like you've made. Oh, I have something else to show. Speaking of something I've made, but you can't go out like wearing something you've made and it not look like, people are going to ask, like, did you make this? Right? So it has to look good, because it's like a reflection. So it's like, oh, anyway. So this is what I'm working on. So, all right. So this is my Lenny Kravitz scarf. Let me show you. It is quite big, but I'm working on it, and I'll show you a picture of what the Lenny Kravitz scarf is. But essentially, it is a 9.5 foot by 2 foot wide scarf, and so this is about a third of the way done with it, and it is going to be this thick. That's how thick it is. So it's like a blanket scarf, basically. It's a flanket. But yeah, so, or whatever that would be. But anyway, so yeah, so the idea is you like fold it over like this, and then you have, I mean, it's still thick. Like it's still bigger than my shoulder. And I got broad shoulders. So it's still pretty thick. I mean, if you think about it, and it's heavy, because I'm using some really fantastic yarn that I'll talk to you about in a second. So this is a third of the way done. And let me show you what the sexy, amazing Lenny Kravitz looks like in this scarf. So that is the scarf. That is what it is supposed to look like when it's done. I'm using grays, obviously. I'm not sure about the fringe. I'm not like 100% on fringe, and just as like a general rule, but I think because this is so over the top, it needs it. And look how long that fringe is too. So like, that's the whole thing. So this is the Lenny Kravitz scarf. This is what I'm working on now. This is my me project. I made things for everybody else, and I'm like, no, I want it. And my husband, the other night was downstairs watching TV, and I was working on it, and nobody had seen it like get that big, because this is where it starts to feel substantial. Like it feels like I'm carrying an Afghan around now when I'm working on it, and I'm only a third of the way done. So anyway, so I was working on it, and I folded it out, and I did the stretching thing, and I had it laying out, and he was like, "What is that? I want that." And I was like, "I'm sure you do." So I told him he could totally use it once I need to wear it. I need to show it off, and then he can wear it. But I have this whole thing where I have like this vision, because we're going to be getting on an airplane to go to Convo, right? So I have this vision of us being in the airport and me just wearing this really cute outfit with that on, and then taking a picture of me looking all jet-settery. I'm really excited about it. So hopefully I can get this done in time. I think I will. It's not a tough stitch. And the other night I think in an hour and a half, I got 9 or 10 rows done. So, I don't know, but I have under 2 weeks to finish it. Do you think I can do it? I think I can do it. I think I will. I will make it happen. I will take a day off if I have to just to make it happen. So yeah. So it's a thing. It's a thing. It's happening. It's sexy. It's gorgeous. So the yarn I'm using for it is Hush by Big Twist. And I got this from Joanne's website. I had to order it. And I had seen another YouTuber. She's Gothic Knits. I think that's her name. And she had like a hat made out of this, and she's like, oh my God, it feels real. It's super soft. It's ridiculous. Let's see what it's all acrylic, I think, though. Yeah, it's all acrylic, but it's polyester. This is some of the softest yarn I've ever touched in my life. And the other thing is like cleaning stuff, right? Like I knew this would be easier to clean because this is machine wash cold. Not going to throw this in a machine, but the idea that it's easier to wash, very important, especially when it's that big and I'm going to be traveling with it and you never know what can happen, right? So anyway, this is fantastic stuff. It's super soft, like it's ridiculously soft. And what I did is I went and I had to buy an Afghan's worth, basically, because that's how big the scarf is. So I had to buy an Afghan's worth, and I saved up. So I have the app, the Joann's app, and I have the website. We have a website, right? So I believe it was Joann's. It was Joann's or Michael's that I was able to go in, and I was able to apply coupons in my app and then go into the cart on the website and put coupons in there. And I got both. Like I think I got like 65% off one of my purchases. It was like insane. It was awesome. Anyway, so got it off their website and I bought it in bulk. And they had like a deal where you could buy a whole bunch. And so I did. I think I bought 9 or 10 skeins of this. And the thing with it too is I got a couple of them, and 2 things. This to me is the color of moonlight. Hopefully it shows it off. This looks like moonlight to me. So I want to do something gorgeous, something lunar, devotional. I have this shawl that I saw in mind, and I'm going to try to wear more shawls this year because they're cute. And you can make it look, here's the thing. I enjoy presenting as a masculine person. And so I enjoy that. I enjoy that body shape, that's all of that. So for me, finding something that I can make that doesn't take away from that is really important. So I'm trying to make things that are more on the masculine kind of side, just because that's what I like to look like. And so this, I thought I could pull something like that off on, and it's really, really cool. The only thing that I don't like about it is that it does kind of split. Like if you're not careful, and it's okay, it's really great for crochet, but it can split. You can kind of see the fibers there. So that can be, it's a little bit of a thing. And there aren't a lot of colors. There's this one, which is gorgeous, and then the darker gray that I'm using for this, but otherwise there just really weren't a lot of colors. And so I'm going to try to make another one, but my thought is to get some acid dye and to either stretch it out, dye it, like do an over dye on the yarn, or do an over dye on the garment once it's all done and the fabric is taken care of. So there's that. Okay, so somebody, I can't actually see who you are because of the way that this thing works, but somebody was asking if I would make a cloak. Eventually, I'm not a big cloak person, but I do think that they would be, cloaks, why not? So I have an idea for it, but my thing with all of this stuff is making sure that the fabric lays right on the body. So that's been a little bit of a concern of mine. And whenever you do big panels of crochet, it tends to bellow and stuff like that. So just because of the way it lays, if you're not laying it flat, it's gonna pull down. So I don't know. I think if I could find the right stuff, maybe. I'm gonna make a t-shirt, and I'm gonna see, because that's gonna lay down a very specific way on the body, and then I'll know if something bigger like a cloak is possible. Okay, the other whip right now. There's a couple of them, but this is the last one. So this is a hot mess right now, but it is my first freeform crochet scarf, or not scarf, sweater. So I'm making a cardigan, and this is the showing the working side. That's why everything's all fluffy and out. But I'm making a big green cardigan, and I'm basing it off of this. So I love this. When I want to feel comfy, this is the cardigan I wear. It feels squishy and homey, and it's awesome. So I'm modeling this off of this, and my hope, all I have to really do is do the collar and then do the sleeves, and then take care of the ends, and then I'll block it, and then we'll see. And I probably need to do a border on the bottom to get it to kind of cinch a little bit more. We'll see. It was a big priority whip, and then it kind of moved down when I realized that I was running out of time for my Lenny Kravitz scarf. So I'm like, Lenny Kravitz scarf first, and then if I can get this done, it'll be this. But I'm really looking forward to this. I love the colors. I bought this to make blankets out of. It is Wool Ease Thick and Quick by Lion Brand. And I'm a little annoyed because the colors, you can see, you can see right here. The colors are different. Do you see how the dye lot's off? Oh, I was pissed. Can you tell? Yeah, the dye lot's different. So, so pissed. But it is what it is. I went back to Michael's to look to see if there were none of the skeins are there. It's all gone. It was all part of their winter stuff. Now they're getting ready for spring. So that's it. So whatever. So I'm literally just using whatever I have left out of all of the different colors and making something out of it. And then we're just going to see how it goes. But if I don't, the thing that I'm not liking, I'm not going to show up and show you. I'm not going to stand up and show you. But the thing I don't love about this is that it fits a little, I mean, it's, it's not as roomy as I want it to be. So I'm going to have to work on that. I'm going to have to find a way to make it a little more roomier because come on, right? Anyway, because you want to be comfy, you want to be able to sit down and curl up in your Afghan, or your cardigan. So that's where I'm at. It's so funny. Younger me was like, let's go party, let's go to the cemetery at midnight, and now I'm like, oh no, I just want to stay home and crochet. Cheers to getting older, folks. Cheers to getting older. Okay, so let's talk about this bougie yarn, and I'm gonna do a video that's just about this because it's one of these things that I love. Okay, so I love doing craft, all the things, but I have been sticking to cheap yarn my whole life. Let's talk about cheap yarn for a second. So I am from Ohio. I always say that because I like living in California, people seem to be a little more extravagant with their spending here. And I'm not that guy unless it's something that like I really want to splurge on, then I will really splurge on it because I am also an adult and I don't have kids. And so, I can treat myself, but I have always stuck with cheap yarn. I go to Joann's and Michael's and that's where I get my supplies. And that's just the way it has always been. And the reason for this is that I think partly that I don't want to invest in a lot of supplies, which as soon as I got into houseplants, that went right out the window. Houseplants are crazy expensive to take care of. And I mean, you might as well have an animal sometimes, like some of these plants. And we'll talk about all that, folks. Oh yes, there are episodes to come. But yeah, so like, I don't know. I'm not one of those people who spends a lot on that kind of stuff. And so when I got it really into crochet, I went to Michael's, I did all the discounts, I'm looking at my codes. I'm like, I am going in with coupons. I am that guy. And lo and behold, they know that. And they target me now. I am now targeted by the Michael's Corporation to spend. They know I will do it. And so, yeah. So what I do is I have a little tiny bit of income that just kind of like, we're talking like $100 a month. I put off to the side. And that's usually what I spend on like craft supplies and things like that. And that's kind of my budget because I also go out and buy books and books are also expensive. So, because I want to go out and support authors, especially if it's a new drop, all that kind of stuff. So there's that. And yeah, so anyway, so I took some money. I usually do not spend a lot of money on this stuff. And this time around, when this particular project came up, I decided that I needed to invest a little bit in what the supplies were going to be in order to get the type of outcome for the finished project that I wanted it to be. Hello, everybody. There's all kinds of new people who have been coming and going. Thank you for arriving. Thank you for being here. Jennifer Hopkins asked what my moon and my sun sign are. I am a Sagittarius with Cancer rising and a Pisces moon. A big walking contradiction. But yeah, so thanks for liking my weird rambles. I appreciate it. Thanks for being here. So yeah, so I decided that because I started sharing pictures and stuff on Facebook of my whips and things that I was working on. And people started, I started talking to other crocheters, and it just one thing led to another. And I got on the conversation with somebody about starting a crochet along for Modern Witch, just for other witches to get together. Let's do a project together, and let's be there to support each other and just kind of get through it and see what happens. And I'm like, that sounds awesome. So I did a crochet along. It went okay. Like I did another one with somebody else, but it just I didn't like the community so much. It was a lot of it got weird. People just got weird. And so I'm like, no, but I think that if I did it with Modern Witch and the people who listen to me ramble and the people who follow, I bet other witches, I bet we could do this. I bet it would be cool. So I went out looking for patterns. It took me a couple days to find what I thought was the best pattern. And what we picked was it's a seashell blanket by Lion Brand. It's on their website. It's one of their free patterns. And my thought with it was that it looked like dragon scales, because it looks each of these little shells, which I will. Do I have them handy here somewhere? It's several shells. It's like 56 shells that are crocheted independently, and then you sew them all together. And I thought, and then you put a border around it. I thought, that'll be cool, and we can make it like a dragon scale kind of thing. And there is a dragon scale crochet stitch, which I know is gorgeous and fun, but that is not what we're doing. But you make these little panels and you put them together, and it makes this really pretty blanket. Now, I thought, based on the pattern, simple skills, you could be able to do double crochet, you got to be able to increase, and you need to be able to sew stuff together. And I thought, kind of intermediate, beginner intermediate, a lot of people could do it, and that could be a lot of fun. So we picked this project. I already announced it. I've got, if you're part of the Modern Witch Facebook group, then of course, that the pattern is already up. You can download it. You can get started if you want to, but we're going to do a big giveaway at the end. So we're going to do it together, and we're going to share pictures and all that good stuff. And then we're going to vote on who we think did an outstanding job. And then I'm going to send that person an amazing package of awesome Modern Witch just stuff, all kinds of good stuff. So including some really badass yarn. But anyway, so starting this project, and again, I go into this stuff. So for me, I'm like, okay, making a dragon scale protection blanket. That is the project. Okay. And my thought with this is, there are times when, especially last year when I was going through burnout and I felt overwhelmed, where I really could have just used being wrapped up with just a protection energy, but to physically feel that. So my goal with this is to not only imbue it with a shit ton of protection energy, and I'll tell you how I'm going to do that in a minute, but to also make it a weighted blanket. And you can crochet weighted blankets. There's a couple of different ways to do it. Most people do beads, they take glass beads and they put those in their stitches. What I'm going to do is, now I actually have to find okay. So there are these kind of, this is just a sample I did to test the pattern. So there are these kind of shells. And what I'm going to do is, there are 4 rows of 7 double crochets or single crochets that go through. And that's just about that much space. But my thought is to make twice that amount for this little thing and turn that into a little pocket, and then put a piece of labradorite inside of that, and then crochet it up. And the labradorite won't be able to get out because it's a good size. I've got a lot of it too, which is great. And I can turn it into an actual piece where there are crystals embedded in the blanket. And I think the reason why labradorite is that when I set out to start this project, I thought that it ultimately is, for me, I love crystals. You all know, I wrote a book about it, right? I love crystals. So when I work with for protection, labradorite is a big ally for me. And so I thought, I'm going to do a dragon scale protection blanket, and I'm going to use labradorite as my vision for this. And I've seen a lot of really cool exotic labradorite where they kind of flash orange and pink, while you have that other grayish blue awesomeness going on around it. And so that's the vision. Okay, so all right, so that's the project, right? That's what I want to do. I want to try to embed these stones in the individual panels to make it a weighted blanket. I think that'll increase not just like the feeling of security that you'll get, but I think the other thing with it is that you'll have crystals that are activated and cleansed and charged. You're wrapped around in crystals. Come on now, right? Come on. So like that's a no-brainer, right? So yeah, so that's the idea. And then it comes into the other stage of like, how can I make this something that is using the highest quality materials that I can get? And again, normally I'm Mr. Cheap Guy. I'm like using big twist yarn or whatever. But the reason I decided to go on this venture is because I hope that this will be an heirloom piece, because I don't plan on making a bunch of these, right? I want this to be an heirloom piece. I want this to be imbued with as much magic as possible, which to me also kind of depends on using as much natural fiber as possible. So I also believe that putting a little bit of synthetic into something helps with longevity. So like just as a magical property. So I'm okay with a little bit of synthetic, but I want it to be non-superwashed. And the reason why I want it to be this particular thing, and this is no judgment on anybody, and let me tell you, I get it, and again, it's no judgment, but the process of superwashing is so damaging to the environment that I thought there was no way I can do this crystal blanket and have like a bunch of synthetic superwashed, like it's wool, like that's not gonna, it didn't feel right to me. It felt like I was gonna kind of, I don't know, hurt. I don't know. It didn't feel right. So I went, no. I'm not going to go with a superwash wool. This made things difficult. This made things very difficult because finding yarn that isn't superwashed is not the easiest thing to do. That especially if you want it to be soft, if you want it to be high quality, it's really hard. And I know spinners. I've gotten my hands on stuff. It's just finding the quantity needed to make an Afghan. Like that's the other thing. So I was like, okay, in a perfect world would spin my own. I have a drop spindle and I would have spun all my own wool and I would have done. That is not happening, folks. That is not going to happen. I wish it could happen. It is not going to happen. I have been spinning maybe, I don't know, for 3 or 4 years. I have the same set of like the same yarn on my drop spindle and I've been working on it for 3 or 4 years. It is just not going to happen. So that's okay. Anyway, so all this to say, I wanted to find something that was going to be as refined as possible, as nice as possible, that was also going to be colorful, and it was going to not have had like this huge negative impact on the environment. Very important stuff to me. So what I ended up discovering was Noro yarns. Now, if you don't know what Noro is, let me enlighten you, because it is some of the prettiest yarn in the whole world. And I got a bunch of skeins. So I'm gonna do a video that's specifically just on this because I won't actually review it. But I got some really pretty stuff. So I got how many colorways? 1, 2, 3. I got 4 different types of the Madara. And let's see, this is 60% wool, 30% silk, and 10% alpaca. Now, what is really good about this company is that they do everything in small batches. They do everything with local farmers. And so they are working with families that are part of the fiber arts out there. And this company's been around for a very long time. They believe in several things, not just creating a low environmental impact, but also like the brand name, the kind of the slogan for the company is, what is it? It's the world of nature. Experience the world of nature. And the colors are based off of colors in nature and the things that the designer finds in his environment. So let me show you. This is the orange. This is called burnt pumpkin. And so this is the Madara are all tweeds, which is you get those little flecks, but it is, look at that color. And it's not synthetic. This is real. And the way that they get this, hi everybody, thank you for coming in. I appreciate it. Welcome. The way that they get this is with silk. So it's actually the silk that the particular silk fiber that really takes color. It takes really deep, beautiful, vivid colors. And so that's what you're going to find a lot with Mandaras or with Noro. So I've got these. Let me show you the other colors. So I got those two. Got this blue, and I'm not gonna lie, I showed this to Storm, and Storm's favorite color is blue. And I'm making a Doctor Who scarf for Storm, and I told him to pick his own colors. And I was gonna make we'll talk about it's gonna be a whole thing, but needless to say, we might end up using this blue specifically for a Doctor Who scarf. Anyway, no, the colors wouldn't be appropriate, but still. And then, yeah, and then this was a surprise to me. I got it because I wanted something that was gonna kind of go with the gray, but not. Anyway, because remember how I said labradorite, right? So this is one of the skeins. So this particular lot, this is the Shinryoku. And this is wool and silk. So it's 70% wool, 30% silk. And the colors are just off the hook. And this, you know what this actually is? This one, I think this one is called quartz, something quartz. Let me show you. So this is, so this is the same different colorway, but same type of yarn. Just beautiful, right? So I did a test. So like I said, I was doing tests on the different shells for the pattern, and this is what it looks like in my Noro. So this is the shell, and I did a couple different things. And again, when we start the project, like officially, I'll show you all of this stuff. But I did a back loop only stitch so you come through and you do 2 rows. You do a row of single stitch and then a row of double stitch or double crochet, and that's where you do your increases. And so on the rows that I didn't do increases, which are the single crochet rows, I did a back loop only, and that gives it this kind of ripple kind of look, which I really like. So I'm pretty happy with this. And the thing that the pattern calls for a number 5 yarn, and this is a number 4. It still worked out to be like, after I made this up, it still worked out to be about the size is still 9. This is 9 inches across, which is what the number 5 was supposed to be anyway. So it all worked out. But I like it. I really like this yarn. Not only is it freaking gorgeous, but it feels good. So I have been trying to knit, learn to knit for a very long time, as I said. And it's just not happening. Knitting and crochet are different things. They accomplish similar things. You're still making you can make a fabric with them, right? But totally different. And it's so hard to me to knit. I was struggling, and I realized the reason why I was struggling was that I was using really crappy yarn. I was using that really cheap stuff. I was using the what is this? This is loops and threads, soft classic acrylic. It's just it's like the Red Heart stuff. It's not good. I mean, it's good for what it is. It's good for the price point. I was explaining to my husband that it's having different skeins of yarn is like having different colors of paint. And if you want to do, different art, you need to do different things, right? So anyway, I am just in love with this yarn. It's so pretty, and it worked out really well. And so my thought is I'll do the shells in the different colors with the variegated. Oh, I didn't show you the blue. My bad. So the main feature, this is where I got my labradorite from. Okay. So I'm going to do my scales in the variegated yarn, and I'm hoping to get a labradorite chatoyancy kind of look to it. We'll see. This might turn out hella mermaid. I'm not going for mermaid, but it might turn out hella mermaid because there are some really pretty, there's some corals in there, and there's some stuff that I wasn't expecting, but it's okay. We're going to work with it. It's going to be awesome. But yeah, so I'm going to do in the variegated, and then my thought is so the pattern only makes the Afghan 36 inches across, which is 3 feet, right? Or 38 inches. So it's 3 feet, 2 inches. That's not a lot. And I think the 2 inches actually comes from the border. It's not very wide. And I'm a big boy. So I want a bigger blanket, and I want something that I can actually wrap around my shoulders. That's important. So what I'm going to have to do is find a way to increase the size. And my original thought was to just make the the center scales, like fill up the pattern more, basically just put an extra couple of rows and see where it goes. But my thought then was like, well, if this does turn out looking a little mermaidy, then I'm going to want to do something to kind of dragon it up a little bit, because it's supposed to be a dragon scale inspired protection blanket, right? So my thought with that is to basically do a row on both sides of scales, but do them in a darker color, and then actually go ahead and stitch sigils onto them. I mean, if I can get around to it, I'm going to put sigils on every single one of those little suckers. But definitely on the siding. And I thought like that'll be a cool contrast if it's like in the darker color. And then my other thought was to just kind of shift everything, like the pattern off to the side, and then do a row just like on the left, and maybe play around with like doing some fun embroidery stitching, or I don't know, just kind of, we'll see where it goes. But my big goal, regardless, is to make sure that I can find a way to get those labradorite stones inside of each one of those shells. Okay, so that would be like this little part here would have a labradorite stone inside of it. And my only fear is that to do it, I'm gonna have to create a little pocket, right? And I don't want the color to be off. So I got to figure that out. I might end up doing this part twice as long and then folding it over. Maybe I'll do that. I don't know. Let me know what you think, crafters. Like seriously, like have you ever done anything like this before? What are your thoughts? Please let me know, because I don't want to make a dumb blanket. And also because this is not a cheap blanket for me, right? So the Noro, let's talk price, right? So Noro is not cheap. Let me get my little, I'll tell you what it is. I'll tell you what it was. Now, admittedly, thank you Patreon, because Patreon totally bought this yarn. But so this yarn, this stuff here, it normally retails for about 25 to 40, depending on where you're buying it from, a skein. Way beyond my usual price point. And so I was able to find it for $19.95 plus a discount. So I was like, I think I ended up paying $16.50 per skein. And I got this out of Little Knits, and they're in Seattle. They actually had a lot of Noro. And so I'm probably going to go back to them, especially now that I am knitting. My ADHD is all over the place. This is my knitting. So we'll get to that in a second. All right. Anyway, so about $20 a skein, retail. I got it for about $16.50, which was great. And now I will say I went on eBay for these variegated skeins, the Shinryoku. And the reason I did that was because I could get a lot of 3 for like $40, which retail they were going for like 25, 30 a piece. So it was just way smarter to go for this. Yeah. So if we add it all up, I'm thinking, and I don't know, because I'm literally going to do this as in how much did it cost per yard? Like that's my ultimate goal. But so anyway, so I went and I did as much discount buying as I possibly could. And what I'm thinking is it's going to end up being around about $150 to $200 blanket. Now, again, heirloom. I'm making an heirloom. I'm not making this. I'm really trying to make something that's very substantial and that is going to be around for a long time and will be appreciated as a magical thing, right? So I don't feel bad about it. And, again, if this was just a me thing, I wouldn't. I just would have gone with my big twist discount yarn that I got at Michael or at Joann's. But this is going to be a thing. So, but that was, I'm not going to lie, folks. I had to do breathing. Like, I'm so not used to spending that on yarn. So I had to do a whole like thing, right? And in one case, I actually had put a bid in on the yarn and it was too late to reknit. So it was okay. And I think it's going to turn out beautiful. And I think it's worth, and I do think it's worth it. I really do think it's worth it, because here's why. Are you ready? Already the difference. So as I was saying before, I was trying to knit. I could not knit. I discovered the night before last that the reason I couldn't knit was because I was using really crappy yarn, and it was fucking with my tension. and it was also producing, like, it was starting to pill, and that was causing me to get confused about my stitches. So this is that Noro. So I just wanted to try it out. Look how gorgeous this is knitted. Like, this is just a knit stitch, but that's that Noro. This was I think this is Amber and Coral was the pattern of was the colorway, and this was the Shinryoku. So yeah, look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? Just so that's what I think I can pull off a Labradorite vibe with this. I really do if I do enough darks in there. But I've just been, it was just so hard. And what I realized the other night was, because I said, you know what, I'm going to use this fancy ass, yarn, because I was also having buyer's remorse, right? I've talked myself out of it, but it was a problem, especially because there's another purchase I'm going to show you. I'm not going to feel guilty about it. I put it on my credit card. It'll be fine. But anyway, so grid stuff. I really like it. It's really, it's meant to be, I can tell the yarn is meant to be knitted. It's not a crochet yarn. I mean, it is, like, it'll look great. I think that swatch I made looks great. I think this is beautiful. I think this is going to be really nice, but it just does. It looks best as something that's knitted. Just freaking gorgeous. Can you imagine us a cardigan out of that? I don't know. Hot. All right. Anyway, so I was practicing the other night. I've got my needles out and I'm trying, and I was miserable, and I put it down and I was like, no. And so I came back the next night. I had the bougie ass yarn out because I was like looking at it and just kind of perseverating over it. And I picked it up and I thought, let me see how this does. No problem. I was knitting, no problem. Everything it was fine. The problem was the yarn I was using. I was using that really cheap stuff, and it was messing me up. It was also, I think it was a little thinner than I probably should have been using too. But the Noro knitted up perfect. Like, it was beautiful. So I'm excited about that because it feels like that, to me, that feels like, okay, now I can really do this knitting thing. And here's the reason why knitting is a big deal for me. I want to make cardigans. I want to make sweaters. And I want to do socks. Like, I really want to make socks. I think socks are the coolest thing. And here's the thing. I am not Mormon, but I want magical underwear. I want to make magical socks, damn it. This is a thing I've wanted for a long time. I want to make magical socks that are blessed with, like, all kinds of good safe travel stuff and other things and grounding. And, like, I want to make magical socks. We deserve magical socks. So how am I going to do that? Knitting. So I want to learn to knit so that I can do magical socks. That's my big thing. But my goal, so the goal I've set for myself is for the year, my personal, like, this is just for me, is to, by the end of the year, knit myself a cardigan. I think that's a decent goal, especially if it's something that's really simple, just like a stockinette stitch or something like that. I think I can handle it. So we'll see. I think I can do it though. It's February and I'm going to have a little bit of downtime in the summertime, and yeah, so we'll see how it goes. But I think I can do it. I think I can totally do it. So I don't know. So those are my crochet webs. So we're like an hour in and we're not even into plants or anything yet. Yay, modern witch living. Welcome. Okay, so yeah, Noro, beautiful. So you want to do one more yarn thing? So I haven't opened this yet. I got pardon my reach here. I got this just today while I was setting everything up. So while I was on my search for things, and I started posting on Facebook about the yarn. And by the way, if you want to do that blanket project with it, you can use whatever yarn you want. Like, you are not bound to using my selection. It is supposed to be a do your own thing. Just here's the pattern. That is up. All you gotta do is just join the Modern Witch Facebook group, and that's it. And we have a chat going. It's a really fun time. Everyone's really cool, and it's a fun, easy make. So, and it's magical, right? So I was just talking about all the weird little things that I was going to do extra with it. But if you know me, I'm an extra type of a person. So that's fine. But I think just in general, like, if you want to do it, come on in. Yeah. Okay. So this is so while I was going through and I was sharing about my yarn experience and how I was looking for something that was a little more on the nicer side, I started getting a lot of really good recommendations from friends on Facebook. And so I went down the rabbit hole. One of the yarn brands that was recommended to me was Malabrigo. And I was like, okay. And it took seeing one particular colorway, which should be in here, to get me to go, done, like done. I'm done. It's fine. I used my book budget on yarn. Like, it's a problem, folks. So it's happening. But anyway, so I bought yarn, and it came from this really cool company called Lovecrafts, which I loved the name, Lovecrafts. But Lovecrafts, and they're actually based out of the UK. Now, I didn't know that because their prices were in US dollar amounts. And then I went to go pay, and I got a really amazing, let me tell you, shopped around. I looked around for this yarn. I looked everywhere for this yarn. It goes for anywhere from $25 to $40 a skein, just depending on what it is and how rare it is and all that good stuff, because this is another company that does smaller batches of stuff. And there is no guarantee that like a colorway is going to be the same from one dye lot to the next dye lot. So it's a whole thing. So I was like, okay, they came highly recommended. They are not as environmentally friendly as Noro. So like Noro is like super, and like the joke I was making about Noro is like, it's the like hipster yarn, like you know what small batch it came from, what the sheep what we're eating, like that's the kind of like vibe of Noro. With Malabrigo, not so much, but it's a similar kind of idea. The big thing they're known for are their colorways. I was looking for this yarn, couldn't find it. It was so expensive. Oh my God, was it so expensive? But I have had, since I started my yarn journey, I've had a particular image in my head of what I wanted to make. There is this particular thing I want to do, and it's specifically to work with the higher vibrational spirits that I work with. So like the angels, I'll go ahead and say angels and dragons. So I wanted to make a thing that was going to help me slip into trance, and you know, like a trance shawl that I could use, that I made specifically for that. And I had been looking, and I had seen this beautiful colorway, couldn't find it anywhere. Months go by, and I keep saying, when I find this yarn, I will get it. Well, I found it. I found the yarn. I knew it was the color because I had seen somebody do a cute leaf motif scarf thing with it, and I was obsessed with it, but I couldn't find information on what yarn it was or any of that stuff. So I just had it in my head, and it arrived today. So this company was great because I'm so rambling. I'm so sorry. This company was great because I ended up getting each of these for $12.50 a skein. That's like more than half off. So they had a big discount going on in general. And then I signed up for the website. So I got another like 15% off. And then I got free shipping. And it came from the UK. Free shipping from the UK. I just put this in on the 31st, and today's the 8th. So it was like late. It was like 11 o'clock at night on the 31st. So anyway, so let's take a look. I haven't seen it yet. I don't know what it actually looks like in person. If I'm disappointed, you're going to be here with me. I'm not disappointed. Okay. Oh, look at that. So this is Archangel. This is the colorway, Archangel. And it's popping off a little more on the magenta-y side. It's more of a, I don't know, it's a little darker. That's really pretty. So I got 3 skeins of that. And yeah, that is really smooth. That's absolutely smooth. And it's, yeah, that's really pretty. Okay. So 3 skeins of that. That'll be really fun to spin up. And then this is called Wales Road. Or Wales Way. Wales Way. No, yeah, Wales Road. Wales Road. And this is in the Rios. Yeah, wow. So this comes from Peru. So yep, and it's 100% wool. That's the Rios. And then the last color I got, so I got 3 of those skeins. Should be great. No, wait till Storm sees it. He's gonna really like that. Ooh, that is pretty. I think I got 2 of these. And this is, what was this called? Plomo. And this is actually, again, it's darker. But I thought this actually would make the other two really pop. So can you see that? So I think that is going to make one hell of an archangel or like an angelic shawl. I think that's going to be awesome. Yeah. So I was like, do it. That is a true Aaron weight. Wow. Okay. So that's going to be fun to play with. So yeah, so I got two of those. I think that's just going to be beautiful. And then I got some needles. Let's check out my needles real quick, just because I have to open it. I already did. Okay. Ooh. So got some knitter's pride. I got some green needles because you know me, I have to have everything green. I got some hooks, and yeah, cool. So I have plenty here to keep me busy. I'm so excited by that. That is really pretty. Just one more time. Let's just have a moment here. Yeah, that's gonna be sexy. What should they make out of it? So I have more than I need. Like I have more than I need for a shawl. So what else should I do? Maybe I'll try to make it. No, it'll be thick socks though. Anyway, we'll figure it out. It'll be fun. So that's what's going on there. So that's my yarn world. That's what's going on in yarn world right now. I'm really excited about this. These are really gorgeous colors, and I think I made good choices. I think Noro for doing the crochet along blanket, because it is a magical piece. I think I did it. I think it was a good choice. I'm not going to feel bad or guilty about doing expensive bougie yarn for that. I'm just not. And if I start to talk like I am, you have to go, Devin, stop it right now. Because witches deserve nice things too. And yeah. So man, okay. So there's that. All right. Shall we talk about books I'm reading before we go into plants? So I have so many books. There's just legitimately, I read more fiction these days than I do nonfiction, and I'm a nonfiction writer, so that's a little weird. But I avoided fiction for so long in my life, just reading it, because I was so focused on writing nonfiction all the time that it just was a thing. Like it was just I didn't have time to read, like for enjoyment. I had to do research, like, and it was like being in college all over again. Like it just feels like that writing a book sometimes. So, and I have 5 books out. So I have 5 books. These are my babies. These are out currently. I guess I could show them off just real quick, right? Why not? Okay. So start with The Witch's Book of Power, Witch's Book of Spirits, Witch's Book of Mysteries. We've got Modern Witch, Spells, Recipes, and Workings, which is a freaking gorgeous full color. Talk about craftiness. It's there. Yeah, it's like a recipe book for witches. I'm very proud of that. That took a very long time to make. And then there's Crystal Magic for the Modern Witch, which is the same kind of idea. So it's got all kinds of photos. I did all the photos. Yeah. So I got 5 books out now. So my 6th book is coming out in 6 weeks. Houseplant Horticulture, which green magic for indoor spaces is just really cool. I'm very excited about that. And I invented a new divination system, which is inside of that book. And yes, I invented it. There is nothing else. Llewellyn looked and they checked and they double checked because I made the claim. Yeah, it's new. It is new. And I put it inside of that book. So that's fun. But anyway, so yeah, so I've got a lot of my time goes into writing nonfiction. And I just turned manuscript 7 in, which is fun. And so we'll get edits back and we'll see how that goes. But it's always writing, always doing something. It's a thing. So I really fell into fiction again, probably 2 years ago, just because it was a fun escape from writing about all the stuff that I ended up writing about, right? So let me see. I feel like I haven't started this yet, but I'm going to let's go there. So if you're a fiction person, then you're probably in the Iron Flame Fourth Wing world right now to some extent, or you've heard about this. So this is Iron Flame is the sequel to Fourth Wing, and I loved Fourth Wing in the way that I love McDonald's. It was like salty and fatty and there was no substance to it in any way, shape, or form. I'm pretty sure it was like, eating it just makes you more now, malnourished. Like that's kind of the vibe of McDonald's. That is what reading Fourth Wing was like. And I ate it up. I needed it. Sometimes you just need junk food. Sometimes you just need chicken McNuggets, right? Like it's just a thing. So that was Fourth Wing to me. The main character, Violet, annoyed the fuck out of me for most of it. The coolest thing was the dragons, and there wasn't enough dragons. So there's that. The dragon magic system was kind of interesting, and if you know me, I love dragons, so I have like all kinds of opinions about that, but we'll get to that in another episode. So this is the follow-up to it. I bought this the day it came out. I went to Barnes & Noble. I was super excited. I picked this up. I thought I'm going to dive in, and I set it down on my coffee table, and then the reviews started coming in. And people were ripping it to shreds because apparently it's even worse. The things that I hated about the first one are even more present in the second one. And so I didn't go there, folks. It's just sitting there. I have lost my interest, but I bought the damn thing. I bought it the day it came out. I got stickers from Barnes & Noble, so I'm going to try it. I'm gonna dive in, and we're gonna see how it goes, and I'm gonna start it. If I read Fourth Wing over the weekend, like I got it done in 2 days. I had nothing else going on, so I got it done in 2 days, and it was great. For that, it was fun to like chew it up, but it wasn't terribly fantastic. Like the coolest thing about Fourth Wing is the notion of like the baby dragons. Like that's the coolest thing about them. That's it. Everything else is done before. There's nothing new. It just kind of, it was it was really more smut than anything else. I'd say the best part, like the smutty parts were the juicy parts, those were the bacon parts. And that's the stuff what people tend to talk about more. Like no one's talking about the magic system. No one's talking about anything else about those books, really. It's all about the sex scenes, which were kind of boring and used there was an overusage of a word, in my opinion, as well. Anyway, so we're gonna see how this goes. I, for some reason, need to go back and see. I need to go back and eat more chicken nuggets, but I will finish. I'm gonna make this happen. I'm gonna read it and finish it. So that's on the docket right now. I am also really excited about this. So this is Gutter Mage. And it sounds very interesting. So I'm just going to read you the little inside bit here. So it says, in a kingdom where magic fuels everything from street lamps to horseless carriages, the mage guilds of Penador wield power equal to that of the king himself. So when Lord Edmund's infant son is kidnapped by the ruthless Alath Guild, he turns to the one person who's feared by even the most magically adept, Rosalind Featherstone, aka the Gutter Mage. Okay. Gutter Mage? I feel like someone's called me that at some point in my life. So, but yeah, so this looks cool, and it's definitely, I'm 90% sure this is on a queer story list. I'm pretty sure. So I'm hoping I get a little bit of queer love out of it. That would be nice, because lately everything's like Heartstopper, and I don't hate Heartstopper. I find it very cute and very endearing, and I didn't get to have a cute love story when I was a teenager, so seeing it on television is so sweet, and it's so soft. And, my Chaz loves it. My Chaz is totally into Heartstopper, and it's the cutest little thing, and I could care less. I'm like, teenagers are annoying to me most of the time, and if you're a teenager, I'm so sorry, because you probably find teenagers annoying too. But I was a coach for a long time. I'm around teenagers a lot. I didn't need to hear more about teenage love. And so, yeah, it was just a thing. But that being said, it's still cute. It's still fun to watch. And but I need something that's a little more, I don't know, but not Saltburn, because that was a little too much. You know what I mean? Like that was a little, I don't know. Anyway, so got that going on. There are 2 books that I need to read. I want to read. I'm a little nervous about them. Only because I feel like they're going to be heavy, and I feel like they're going to take more headspace than I probably want to give them. But at the same time, I'm craving them. The first one is Exadelic, and this is by John Evans. This is a debut from this author, and it's okay. So basically, it's about AI discovering how to cast spells. Because it has figured out how to take all of the like tomes and all of the ancient texts and everything and decode them and kind of distill the point. And then AI starts doing magic. And then what happens when it's capable of doing our own magic better than we are, because it's AI, right? So it's this kind of trippy thing, and it's about like the military, like military is involved. It's a whole thing. So I'm excited about this, but I feel like it's going to be it. Is it on the horror? Does it say horror? It doesn't say horror, but it gives me like horror vibes. So I'm excited. I love me some horror though, but this is like, I don't know. It might test my occultist patience. We'll see. So that's in it. So again, if you're interested, that's Exadelic by John Evans, and I'll give you a review. I'll let you know. The next one is I bought this. I set it aside. I keep walking around it, and I finally just brought it into the studio tonight. And I'm like, okay, Devin, you gotta make this happen. At least this spring, I have to read it. And that is The Great Transition. And this is about going from the era of this is a fictional story. It's about going from the era of like fossil fuels into what's beyond that, like honestly, for civilization, and what do we do to get there. And it's a fictionalized story, but it's very much like we're pushed. Sorry for the hitting microphone. We're pushed into making changes. We're not really ready to. We don't want to make. We should be ready to make them. But we're not. And it's it's political. It's a lot of things. But it's one of the sci-fi. It's on a lot of top sci-fi lists that I was reading last year, and so it's been on my list for a while. And I had to get this special ordered. So I'm really looking forward to it. But it does seem like it's going to be heavy, and yeah. So we'll see. So that's I have more. Of course, I have more. I have House of Leaves. Have you seen House of? I mean, if you've read House of Leaves, let me know what you think of it, because it looks like a mind fuck. I mean, it really does. Like it starts off and then it's just kind of go. Can you see? Like it just goes. Now here's my thing. I've read several grimoires that get weirder, so it's not like I'm not looking forward to following along. But this one is known for doing things to your head while you read it, and that's what everyone says. So a lot of people talk about finishing the book and feeling like empty, and feeling like something has been shifted inside of them. And I don't know. I feel like this is Hellraiser, like the energy of Hellraiser is like, I don't know, but that's kind of what the vibe people give me is. And I've read Hellraiser and it was fun, but just the idea of real life Hellraiser but in a book form, that's kind of what this, I don't know, that's my intuitive hit on this. But it's supposed to be a mindfuck, so we'll see how it goes. But this is something that I'm going to try to read with Chaz, because I think that he will be the right person to read this with and talk to. And I'm going to have to talk to somebody about it while I'm reading it, because it's already I read the first couple pages and I was like, what's happening? So we'll see. And then I have two more, of course. And this is not all happening this month. I usually can read 3 or 4 books a month. That is not happening this month. Obviously it's small, but also there's a lot going on. The last fiction book is Light from Uncommon Stars. This is recommended by so many people, and I really, really want to see what the hype is about. And I hear amazing things. I hear really amazing things, and it was a bestseller. It's a bestseller. So we'll see what happens. I don't actually know much about this. I've been trying to avoid it because I feel like spoilers. So, but so it says, Shizuka Satami made a deal with the devil to escape damnation. She must entice 7 other violin prodigies to trade their souls for success. She has already delivered 6. So that's just the beginning of the back of the book. So that'll be interesting. And everyone says this is a really fast read and that it's just kind of addictive. So we'll see how it goes. But I think this is probably what I'll take with me to Convocation to read on the plane when I'm not crocheting, because I will probably be crocheting on the plane. And then the last thing that I have is not fiction at all. It is nonfiction. It is also not witchy. And we'll talk about the witchy book I am reading because we do have the Modern Witch Book Club, of course. And right now we're reading Real Sorcery by Jason Miller, and we have an interview with him at the end of the month. So you're going to do to be part of that is just join the Facebook group, and you can come and participate in all that. But yeah, so right now I'm reading Think Again by Adam Grant. And the idea with this is it's the idea of reprogramming your response to things. And like the subtitle is The Power of Knowing What You Don't Know. And I'm excited about this for a couple of reasons. I think that, first of all, I love self-help books. I mean, not all of them, because some of them are just horrible, but I do enjoy reading stuff that's on like self-improvement, because why wouldn't I want to improve myself? Like, really, right? I also think a lot of our work as occultists involves shadow work and things like that. And where else are you going to get little snippets of shadow work than doing self-help stuff? So I really enjoy self-help books, but this is so it's the idea that essentially you are going to take from what I understand, you're going to take a look at the way that what you think you know, and how that's leading you into problems in your life, probably, and how you don't know what you don't know, kind of a thing. So I'm excited, and I will give you a full debrief. I think the thing that really got to me was it the chapter titles? I think I got it for the chapter titles. Yeah, they're really fun chapter titles. So like the first one is: a preacher, a prosecutor, a politician, and a scientist walk into your mind. I feel that conflict on a daily basis, so I'm looking forward to it. And one of the things too, is it's about kind of like reconciling things. Like, I'm a spiritual person, but I'm also really into science, and I'm really into a lot of things that kind of conflict. And what I've had to kind of learn over the years is to just accept that there's a lot of what ifs and potentials and could haves and all that kind of stuff, right? So there we go. Anyway, so that's what I'm reading. Very excited. I will let you know as we're going along what those are like. Let's take a second real quick and let's just tune in to what you guys are saying. Thank you for being here. Wow. So let's see here. Ben, thank you, Ben. I hope you come up with a book titled The Witch's Book of Awesome. They won't let me write a fourth in the series. I would, but they're not letting me do it. And the reason why is because Witch's Book of Mysteries, out of the three of them, it's not performing as well, and it's also really fucking heady. Like, it's a really heady book. It's my headiest book that I've written, and I think unless you're into like grimoire magic, you're not going to appreciate it. So they're like, no more of those. Dragon. Okay, yeah. So somebody on Facebook was saying try Dragons of Pern by Anne. Yes, I am. I'm going through. So I'm going to tell you right now. I've heard all about the series for a very long time, and I finally last year broke down over the holidays, and I started reading the what is it? It's the song, the Magic. Is it up there? Harper Hall. Yes, it's up there. The Harper Hall trilogy. So I started reading the Harper Hall trilogy. I will probably stop after that, and the reason being is that I already had a lot of the storyline spoiled because I started with the Harper Hall trilogy instead of going in with book one. And so there's a lot of things that are already kind of revealed just because of that, because I'm reading the books out of order. And then the other thing is that it gets kind of rapey, and it gets a little, and I'm just not over it. I'm just tired of that. I'm done. So, if I already know that stuff is going to be in it, and I already know because most of the storylines, like, what's the point? So I will do the very ADHD thing and just go look it up, probably. So I'll read I have 2 more books in the Harper Hall trilogy. I've read the first one, so I'm going to read the next 2, and then I'm probably going to be done. And then just kind of look it up and see what happens after that. Let's see here. Carly said they were reading House of Leaves, and that it was definitely a mindfuck. So see what's going on. Okay, so plants. Are we on plants now? I think we're on plants now. This is going on for a long time. Thanks for staying with me if you're still here. I appreciate that. Okay, so I'm really excited about this. So, of course, Houseplant Horticulture is about to drop, right? And as one of the things they did for like pre-orders is like, if you wanted a rare plant, you could pre-order my book, and there were like bundles where you could pick up a plant. So you get the book, a signed copy of the book, and a plant. And so I started taking some cuttings and doing props to get ready for that. So let's see here. Oh, yay. So here is, so this is a Syngonium aurea, variegated aurea. So this was the top cutting. So when I did it, so top cuttings, if you don't know, top cuttings always do better than like the other leaf cuttings. And so it's not a surprise to me that this, I think this leaf was probably coming out at the time, but it's not a surprise to me that it has this leaf coming. This is the brown that's normal. It's a leaf cutting. It's fine. I'll cut that off. It'll be fine. And Syngoniums are super ridiculously hardy. So this little guy is going to be great. But yeah, so my thing with this was that I wanted to have some rare plants to give to people to celebrate the book. So Syngonium aurea, at least it used to be rare. Now it's probably more on the hard to find, but I don't think it's even that super hard to find these days. But I've got 10 of these, looks like. So I got 10 that are just about ready to go. And those are going to lighten up. So it gets this really gorgeous cream color, this yellow, and it's just divine. It's gold. It's divine. So I love them. Oh, here's another one. Let's look at this. So yay. So it's got, yeah, you see props are doing good. But that's I mean, come on, right? Like, it's really pretty when you get a nice big pot of them. They're just divine. And yeah, new leaf coming out. So props took. That's good. What else do I have in here? Oh, this is cute. Haha. So this is a pink princess. This is actually a pink princess black cherry. And it will get a little darker. Actually, it should get really dark. Hold on, let me find a better one. Here we go. Aha. So these have been in the prop box, so they're lighter, but these will get really, really dark. Like this green goes like almost, I don't want to say it's not almost black, but it's like really, 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 really dark green. And when the red pops out, like they look black because of the tonal shift, right? So this was the prop leaf, and these are the two babies. So yeah, so this has been in here, but this has been in there for a minute. This I think I've had this in there for like 5 months. So it's just going to town. But I had started having problems where the variegation was disappearing, right? So we want this pink to be there. But then it doesn't always stay. It doesn't always stick around. So because it's technically a mutation, and the plant will, if it's not getting what it needs, it'll try to correct the error, basically. So I kind of think of variegation like glitching, like the leaf is glitching. And so if everything's okay, then it'll keep glitching and it'll be fine. And it's because there's no adverse effects of, from it. But if if it fixes itself, then that means that it's going to lose variegation, or it'll go off the deep end and become all variegated. And when that happens, anything that isn't green loses the ability to photosynthesize. Green or red, and even then not all red can do that. So kind of a whole thing. But so then the leaf just can't take care of itself. Like it can't produce what the plant needs in order to survive. So it just dies. And that's kind of, that's sad, right? In fact, I have back there, I'll have to show you next time because it's back there. But I've got 2 months. You can see I'm pointing at it. There's one. I have 2 months Stera elbows back there that they have ghosted. Like they've shifted to putting out completely white leaves. And that is troublesome. So because they will lose the ability to take care of themselves. Right now, I'm keeping them alive with ridiculously high amounts of light and making sure that there's vitamins and all of the, doing all the things, fertilizing them, taking care of them in all of the ambient ways in order to make sure that those leaves don't turn brown. Because the minute so here's the thing with keeping white leaves on your variegated plants. You can't fuck around with the amount of water that they're getting. That's really what it is. So humidity, it doesn't matter so much with variegation and with keeping healthy, like keeping the plant so much alive or from browning. It's really about the moisture in your soil. and bruising and things like that, of course, which then humidity becomes a factor. But for the most part, it's really like keep making sure that your soil is, or your substrate is at a nice, even, not too moist, not too dry. It's a whole thing. And normally, you know, in a regular monstera that isn't variegated, they like to be on the drier side. They can, you know, or that you can just grow them in water, like a Monstera deliciosa, right? So it's just tricky thing, and we're gonna see how it goes. But so on the philodendron pink princess and the black cherry, it started to putter out, and that was making me sad because I love me some philodendrons, but I especially love me some variegated philodendron. So having that happen, speaking of variegated philodendron, yay! So here is Ring of Fire. So this is the philodendron Ring of Fire. It's another variegated baby, and this one it variegates gold and orange. It's really pretty, so that's why they call it Ring of Fire. And they get really gorgeous. So I got a couple of these that are ready to go. Ooh, hello! And then this guy was in there, and I didn't see him. So this is a White Knight. And he's not super variegated. So this was from a tissue culture. Tissue cultures are rough. I know I've had a couple people ask me about tissue culture, about doing a video on tissue culture, because they're trying to get into them. And you know, here's the thing. Tissue cultures are awesome. They are amazing. They will save you money. They will save you all kinds of trouble. They will also cause you all kinds of trouble, and they will probably cost you all kinds of money. So it's like a tricky thing. And it really, like, I used to order in a bunch of different tissue cultures and then grow the babies into plants, and then I would sell the plants off or give the plants away. And when it came to variegated plants, you can not always keep the variegation, especially if they're coming in this little and they have plenty of time to fix the mutation, right? And so I think my biggest blunder with this is that, so I love banana plants. I love banana plants. They are a personal favorite of mine, and there are two types of banana plants that are particularly like gorgeous and hard to find. One is a variegated white banana plant, specifically the musa. The musa is the one that produces fruit that you can eat. And so I wanted a white musa, a white variegated musa. And then there's one called a pink no-no, and it variegates because it comes on red. So the variegation looks pink, and it doesn't just any, actually I have it up there. I'll bring it down next time so you can see it, but it's like hot pink, like it's the coolest pink in the world. Like it's just like, what, that's a plant? Like it's amazing. So I had to get that, and we're talking about, I want to say a regular variegated, like yay big banana plant is around $200 to $500. For the pink one, you're looking at around $1,000 to $1,500 for one that's about 1.5 feet, 2 foot tall. No. That's not me. So when I found somebody who was offering tissue cultures of little tiny baby plants, I was like, okay, let's talk about this. And so I was able to get them for much, much cheaper. I can't remember, but I know it was not that, because I would not even go near that. Also, because what do you do if you kill it? You just wasted a lot of money, right? Like, no. And so, yeah, so like I had those. Now the pink no-no, which was the more pricey one, if I remember, it's still pink, it's still variegated, it's still pretty. The white variegated one, it was variegated for the first like 5 leaves, and then it just dropped all variegation, and I can't get that variegation to come back. So it is, maybe later on down the road it'll spit a leaf out with some variegation, but it's probably not going to happen, and that's okay. It's now what I'm sure was $100 probably is now worth $9. Right. So like, it's a tricky thing. It's a really tricky thing when it comes to banana plants or any plants and variegation and getting them as tissue cultures and then growing them up from baby tissue cultures into something that's more substantial. It's just really difficult if it's not variegated, or if it's just a stable variegation. And that's read my book. I talk about stable variegation versus unstable variegation and all that stuff. And I'm sure I'll talk about it more in the future. But in that case, like, if you're going to get tissue cultures and because you're trying to save money on a rare plant, look for the stuff that's already stable. Like, you want to look for like you want the variegation to be stable, and you can look it up. Like you can Google, is the variegation in this plant stable? Like you can find that information out pretty quickly, or join some of these Facebook groups, because you can find all kinds of really good, helpful, useful people who know stuff off the back of their hand. But look for that. Like make sure it's stable before you invest in that, because it is really pricey. It is so pricey to get into variegated plants and to get into rares. And then, again, what happens if you spend, a chunk of money on something and then it dies? Like you're not only you out of that money, but you could have spent it on a much bigger plant that wasn't variegated or wasn't so it's just, it kind of sucks after a while. Like I have killed so many plants, and this is something that people don't talk about. If you watch plant influencers, things like that, I talk to these people. We're all in the same boat. Like, friends, it ain't easy. It is so easy to kill a plant. It is so easy. Like all these things. Like, so the stuff that I write about in my book, those are pretty stable plants. Like those are plants that are hard to kill for the most part. But once you really get into the hobby, it's really easy to find yourself with very precious, very sensitive plants that take a dive real quick. Right. So like, usually if you can find it in a Walmart or a grocery store or a Home Depot, Lowe's, like those big box stores, most of those plants are ready to be repotted. Like they're at that point where they want to move on to a new home, and they're big and happy and voluptuous, and they're healthy for the most part, right? So those will do pretty okay in your home. But when you go for the import, like I imported stuff, oh God, Freds, we'll get into it as horticulture arrives, and the book is closer to release. I will go into the nitty gritty stuff with plants, and we'll talk more about it. But it can get really pricey, and it can become a pain in the ass real quick. So so I think that's pretty much in that. Yeah, I think those are all the species I have in this particular one. I've got 7 other ones in my closet. We'll see how it goes. Right now, I know I have a bunch of Monstera albos, because I love me some Monstera albos. So I actually had my mother plant. So my mother plant is 4 Monstera albo plants in a big pot. So it has this big bushy gorgeousness that happens. And it got, sadly, last year I did an import from a company that I probably shouldn't say, and maybe I should say Aeroid Market. I ordered from Aeroid Market, and the import came, and it had a horrible, horrible, horrible fungus, and that fungal disease went right through all my plants. And I was busy taking care of a bunch of stuff at the time, and I lost probably a third of my collection. Thanks, Aeroid Market. So that sucks. So that's the kind of stuff you're gonna worry about, right? Like if you really get into this, like it's really easy to get all kinds of weird, nasty things. It was like a plant sexually transmitted disease. I freaked out. I was horrified. And when I was so busy, I didn't see it happen. Like I didn't see the warning signs. And it's been a couple times where something like that, and it's, you know what? Both times it's happened after World Market or after Aeroid Market. I guess that solves that, doesn't it? But I've gotten a fungus that's come through in the house, and I live in California. The air is dry. There's no and I will wake up because I will have a dream where my plants are literally my plants are being attacked by something, and like they're telling me, hey, we have a fungus, like it's a thing. So I'm still fighting this crap, and it's been 10 months of me trying to take care of this fungus. And just when I think it's gone, another leaf pops up on the other side of the house that has it. Like it's just, so yeah, not fun. So you got to be careful with stuff. Like if you're going to do imports, and I'm more than happy to share all of that information with you guys. And if you want that information, let me know. I'll do an episode on it, and we'll go through all of that stuff. But importing is rough sometimes. And if you follow me, you've seen my boxes where I open them up, and sometimes you get a box of just decayed plant matter. That's what you get, right? Like, and sometimes it goes through customs, and custom radiates your box. And there goes your plant. Like, so crazy stuff. So plants are really fun. I love my plants. I have a lot of really magical plants. Like all my plants are magical. I work magic with everything in this house. And if it takes up oxygen or if it takes up space, It does magic. That's the rule. And yeah, it's just, anyway, gotta love it. It's a thing. So anyway, that's pretty much it. I've been rambling here for what looks like almost 2 hours, which I think was the plan. I think the plan was honestly just to sit down and just hit go and talk about the creative things and just try to connect with you guys, because I don't get to connect with you guys in my normal avenues of doing this. And the truth of the matter again is I need the community. I need to know that there are people who like yarn and witchcraft out there. I need to talk to my people. But even more so, I know that a lot of you read my books and you don't necessarily get to know me, and that sucks for me because I want to know you. So there you go. So hopefully we can do more of that with this. Hopefully we can dive more into that with modern witch living, this whole new adventure. I'm really excited about it. I'm hoping to make this weekly. So unless there's so here's the rule. The plan is to sit down and hit record or hit go weekly for this. And unless I'm if I'm in the middle of a crazy book thing, I have ADHD. I will forget. I'm just going to forget about it. It's just true. I'll be focused on my book. So I will let you know if something comes up where I'm something might not happen or whatever, but I'm going to try to be here weekly, and I'm not going to put this up on the podcast feed with my normal show. I'm just going to do this for you guys here. So come back. I will see you next Thursday. Unless I'm on another podcast, which I have interviews. I don't know what I'm talking about, but I will be here next week and we'll do it more. And I'm probably going to do more yarn stuff before that. I'll probably drop a video that's just fiber stuff. We'll see. So anyway, yeah, join the Facebook group. The information is below on how to do that. And I would love to see your shining faces. I would love for you to come join us. The whole point right now is listen, I've been practicing witchcraft my whole life, and I am now 37 years old. And if I've learned anything, I've learned that we have to make this for ourselves. And so my hope is that we can do that together. We can share our stories. We can talk about what's going on in our craft and make it make sense for us, because that's our job. That's our job. So yeah. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me tonight. I hope to see you again, and subscribe, all that fun stuff. I'll see you next week. Mwah! Bye, friends.